Being on the foundation board, it's been very rewarding to see that the donors and the people that are involved with the foundation, how much they care about the school in more ways than one, and what their history of the school is, and how much time and effort and money they've put into it. Our history, I think, part of who we are. I had a class under Dr. Meyer when we started, and I thought I took history because I had to, but the older you get and the more you've been around, history kind of makes you. History is who and what you are. That's why it's so important, and it's certainly had an impact on Glenna and I. Glenna and I wouldn't be married if we had one here. We met here on the campus. We both got our education here. We both got jobs out of here. My job was serving the U.S. Army. But back when I got out, you were either in school or you were in the Army. You didn't have much of a choice at that particular time. I took ROTC here, and I didn't know what ROTC was when I came up here from West Plains, but ROTC had a tremendous impact on my life. I encourage everyone to take it. I'm trying to convince my grandson to take it. It's not, they have to want to, but I never would have graduated from the university if it hadn't been for ROTC. One of the main reasons is it paid $27.90 a month at that time. And that's how I went my last 2 years of school. I was talking earlier, the first year at SMS, now we've been through 2 name changes, Glenn and I have over the years. First year from total room and board and tuition, and they wouldn't sell me beer at that age, but my total expenses for that year was $740, and that's just a little bit different than it is today. Back then also on scholarships you could receive from nearly every school in Missouri. They would give, I think they were called merit scholarships, Dr. Meyer, is that correct? Right. They were $100, and you didn't have to be a big brain to get them, and because I received one from West Plains. And you stop and think about it, that's not much, but that was $100 out of $740 I spent the first year. Tuition was below $100 a year. We were on the term basis, and I think it was $22, Dr. Meyer, a term, so that's around $70 a year for tuition. So things have changed, and we've seen a lot of changes over the years. We have watched the university change over the years. When we were in the MIAA, Brent mentioned that Glenn and I are big sports fans, and that's our life today. It revolves so much around the university today. I'm happy to be on the foundation. It keeps me active since I've retired, keeps me educated, keeps me well acquainted with some good friends and people that we associate with. And it's a delight to watch the Bears. My mom always said either be in first or last place, because those in the middle are never noted. Well, MSU accomplished that this year in both sports. So, but we look at great things in the future for that to come with our new facilities. And the foundation plays an important part of this. Brent has touched on what I wanted to say, particularly for the new graduates. When I got out of school, jobs were hard to get. When you get out of school, let me tell you something, jobs are going to be hard to get. I serve on the board of a local bank, and when all the banking problems started, I said, don't worry about this, Joe, it's just a speed bump. Well, it turned into a pothole. And the economy is really, and so jobs are tough. Jobs were difficult that's why one reason I was proud to have ROTC, because we graduated at 10 o'clock that morning, and I got on a train to go to the Army at noon. So, and then served 3 years overseas, got to see the world, and our son was born overseas. The Army brought Glenna over because we were commissioned through ROTC. So that was another reason it played such an important part. When we came back to Missouri, we finally got back to Springfield and came back to Missouri. Because I was an SMS graduate at that time, knew a lot of people and networking, and you build more friendships during your college years than you probably do any other period in your life, because you see them again, you talk about things, you remember. back to the history again on what makes your character and builds your character. So that's been very important to us over the years, and most of our friends today are associated in one way or another with the university. After 3 jobs, we had the opportunity to move to Branson, and I thought that'll be a quiet, little sleepy place to go. There was a utility down there, a rural electric cooperative, which needed a manager, and I knew some people that had graduated from MSU with me who had some influence, and some of you know him. Probably the main one was John Harlan. He and I were roommates. It took him 8 years to get through the school. But he beat the draft, by the way. I'll tell a story on John. He beat the draft. He joined the Air Force for 4 years. The draft was only 2 years, but he wanted to beat the draft, so he joined up for 4 years. That's our level of thinking back then. But anyway, through those associations, I went down and took over the electric cooperative in Branson, Missouri, a quiet little town on Lake Taneycomo. There was a theme park that started down there a couple of years before, and a dam had been finished in 1959. Well, you all know what happened in Branson, Missouri. Everybody thinks we were really smart, but we just tried to hang on during the growth years and the building years, and turned out to be quite an adventure in Branson. Give us a lot of opportunities. Glenna went down to be a teacher. We got down there, and I was at a meeting out of town, and she called me and said, the superintendent, Dr. Chase, Dr. Meyer, called and said, week before school, I think, that they needed a teacher. One wasn't going to show up. She said, should I take it? And I said, well, yeah. And she said, well, you try and tell me what to do. And I said, no, I don't think you should take it. And she said, well, you don't want me to take it. And I said, I tell you what, when I get home, you tell me what you did. So when I came home, she said she took a temporary job teaching. Well, 18 years later, she decided it was time to quit. So she had a good career after our kids were well into school of teaching. And then I was very active in the Branson area, and along the way I started a cable TV company just to get people in Branson cable TV. I looked like a genius 10 years later, but that's not why I started it. It was another opportunity that came along that I was trying to get cable TV to people where you couldn't get antenna TV much down in the hills and hollers. So that turned out to be a nice little adventure that was another thing that looked like we were smart, but we weren't. We just happened to be there at the right time, I guess, and worked through it.